13 Georgia lawmakers are facing ethics complaints for allegedly breaking campaign finance laws. Among the accusations, the lawmakers took contributions during the legislative session, which is against the law. Others, meanwhile, are accused of taking donations above the legal limit and not revealing the money that they receive from special interest political action committees. 9 of the 13 now facing accusations from Democrats, and only 3 are members of the Senate, and 1 has still not been named. We reached out to all 12 that were named, but not all have responded to us or the Ethics Commission. Here's who has. State Representatives Stephen St. James, Burchett, and Pat Gardner all responded, saying they ran into issues when submitting the reports, like accidentally checking the wrong box. Representative Colton Moore says while some of the commission's claims were not valid, he did correct one report. Representative Dexter Sharper says he stands by his contributions, and Representative Vernon Jones, this man here, says that he has updated his disclosures.